Thank you for joining us at this hour. I'm Daniel Choy of Arirang News, here to provide you with the latest. Well, since last week, a group of hackers have been leaking documents from Korea's nuclear power plants, and they promise there's more to come. There were two kinds of concerns that people were not exactly deeply concerned about these threats. The government did not take them seriously at first. And then, of course, they went on to threaten to launch more cyber attack against Korea Hydro and Nuclear Power Corporation on this Thursday. If their demands were not met, they say they are willing to shut down 3 local reactors. Well, fortunately, so far, officials say there have been no signs of a security breach. Our Kim Hyun-bin starts us off.
Security Chief Kim Kwan-jin says Korea's nuclear reactors will run as scheduled without risk of hackers shutting down any plants. After evaluating the current situation during an emergency meeting at Cheong Wa Dae earlier Thursday, Kim emphasized that the suspected attacker or group does not have access to control systems for the nuclear facilities, which are separate from the external system that was hacked last week. Meanwhile, the Ministry of Trade, Industry and Energy and state-run Korea Hydro and Nuclear Power Corporation conducted several inspections throughout the day, but found no signs of hackings. But officials say they will maintain a state of emergency 24 hours a day through Saturday. The suspected hacker threatened to release over 100,000 pages of data on the nation's nuclear power plants and conduct a second wave of cyber attacks, unless the Kori 1, Kori 3, and Worsung 3 nuclear reactors are shut down for 3 months, starting on Christmas Day. The ministry said there is a possibility it's not a bluff, as scores of documents, including blueprints and internal information on some facilities, have already been leaked on 5 different occasions since last Monday. The KHNP manages a total of 23 local nuclear reactors, which supply around 30% of the country's electricity needs. Kim Hyun-bin, Arirang News.
Some good news for those in the U.S. that were counting the hours when they could watch The Interview. Sony Pictures released the controversial comedy about assassinating North Korean leader Kim Jong-un online on Christmas Eve, a day before its limited rollout in U.S. theaters. Our Park Ji-won has the story.
Despite threats of attack, some 300 theaters in the U.S. have decided to screen The Interview on Christmas Day as originally scheduled. The figure, however, is less than 10% of the total number of theaters Sony Pictures had originally expected for its wide release. That's because major movie chains have backed down on showing the film after terror threats from North Korea, the very reason Sony previously canceled the film's theatrical release earlier this month. But many art house and small independent theaters in support of the film petitioned Sony to allow them to screen it on the grounds that it symbolizes freedom of expression.
Obviously, we'd like to make money off of the movie, as we would with any movie, but it's important to take a stand about freedom of speech, freedom to see movies. I think that's mainly what it's about.
For moviegoers, it may just be a matter of finding entertainment at the theater.
I thought it was interesting. I bought a ticket. I don't have any political views. I couldn't care less. Freedom of speech. I think it is what it is, you know, people make such a big deal out of it.
Christmas is a day there isn't much to do anyway, and we thought it was also a good thing to do because we don't feel that the threat was an appropriate thing and probably not very effective.
The FBI has heightened the security by reaching out to hundreds of theaters screening the movie to warn of any potential threats. Ahead of this, Sony Pictures put The Interview online on Christmas Eve through streaming services like Google Play and YouTube Movies. Meanwhile, Seoul-based Yonhap News Agency reported on Thursday that in response, North Korea's diplomat to the United Nations, Kim Sung, said that while Pyongyang rejects its release both on and offline, it will not take any physical action. Kim also reiterated that North Korea was not involved in the recent Sony Pictures hacking. Park Ji-won, Arirang News.
Well, regardless of how many thumbs up or thumbs down that movie gets, it has guaranteed a spot in cinema history. Moving on to a different story now. The chairman of the U.S. Senate Foreign Relations Committee has introduced a bill calling for strengthening sanctions on North Korea. According to diplomatic sources, Senator Robert Menendez introduced the North Korea Sanctions Enforcement Act of 2014 earlier this month. It follows similar legislation introduced in the House in July. While mostly symbolic, such moves still carry weight, as it suggests further legislation can be pursued in a bipartisan manner when the new Congress comes in. Plus, Washington has vowed to punish Pyongyang after the FBI determined the reclusive regime was behind the Sony cyber attack. Another black teenager has been shot dead by a white police officer in a St. Louis suburb on Christmas Eve, setting off a new round of protests near Ferguson. But this time, the teen was armed and dangerous. Surveillance video from a gas station where the incident occurred shows 18-year-old Antonio Martin pointing a handgun at the officer. St. Louis County Police Chief John Belmer said the 34-year-old Berkeley policeman fired several shots, fearing for his life, adding the teen did not comply with requests to drop the gun. The officer, meanwhile, wasn't wearing a body camera he had been issued. Missouri Governor Jay Nixon defended police, saying that law enforcement officers have a difficult and often dangerous job in protecting themselves and law-abiding citizens. Korea's international balance of payments in the culture and leisure sector for this year is expected to be in the black for the first time in 12 years. The Bank of Korea on Thursday said the nation raked in $767 million from January to October, topping last year's record high of some $740 million. Officials say most of the revenue came from exports of Korean movies, TV drama, and K-pop products, which are popular in Asia and gaining momentum elsewhere. Korea's export revenue in the cultural industry has increased more than 20-fold in just the past 10 years. And the Korean government has announced a new set of measures to help women restart their careers after an extended absence from the workforce to give birth or raise children. The Ministry of Gender Equality and Families' new 5-year plan to address the needs of working moms will start next year and include diverse measures like strengthening the nation's child care infrastructure and providing personal counseling. It will also provide subsidies to employers that upgrade temporary female workers who fall in the age range for marriage or pregnancy to permanent status. The ministry hopes the plan will create a more sustainable society where a woman's potential can be realized. Pope Francis celebrated Christmas Eve with a traditional late-night mass on Wednesday in St. Peter's Basilica, where he said the world needs tenderness and warmth and urged people to have greater empathy towards family and friends with problems. He even made a call to a tent camp in Ankawa in northern Iraq, which houses mostly Christian refugees escaping from the onslaught of Islamic State militants. He told them they were like Jesus, forced to flee because there was no place for them. Francis also urged them to help their fellow Muslim citizens present a more authentic image of Islam as a religion of peace. And through a video message addressed to all Koreans, the 78-year-old pontiff recalled with joy and gratitude his visit to Korea in August and wished all a peaceful and holy Christmas. While many joyously celebrate the Christmas holiday with friends and family, well, that's a luxury beyond reach in some parts of our world. Our Chae-yu-sun takes us to some of these conflict regions where all they want for Christmas is peace.
Jerusalem's Latin Patriarch, the region's Latin Catholic Church Archbishop, recently visited the Gaza Strip, blocked by Israel since 2007. He spent some time with local Christians who are unable to travel to Bethlehem for Christmas festivities amid ongoing clashes.
From Gaza, we ask the whole world to feel with us and look to our situations. Do not forget Gaza.
Over in Bethlehem, Christians gather for the last Sunday Mass before Christmas. While preparations were underway for the festive season, the worshippers remember their fellow Christians in prayers.
We wish that our relatives and friends from around the world will come to Bethlehem to celebrate Christmas.
Several hundred kilometers north in Lebanon, Iraqi Christians who fled from the oppression of Islamic State militants prayed for peace in the region.
We hope the situation in our country will improve, but it is impossible. We can't go back. We left our houses, our possessions.
In the conflict-torn eastern Ukraine, a convoy of trucks from Russia arrives carrying humanitarian aid and something special for the Christmas holiday.
The special thing about this convoy is that we are not only taking aid, but also presents. We are taking presents, Christmas trees, and the mood, a New Year mood.
But more than the trees and the presents, the biggest holiday gift for the people in conflict regions around the world would be a sense of stability and precious time spent with loved ones. 최유선, Arirang News.
During this holiday season, even a small gesture of love can mean the world to someone in need. With that in mind, some local groups are reaching out to spread the holiday cheer. Our Son Jung-in reports.
The city streets warm up with a delightful Christmas carol ringing through the cold air. The song is coming from a fire truck that has transformed into a Santa Mobile decorated with Christmas lights and cute little trees. Firefighters have become Santa Claus for the day, attracting people as they pass by the cheering crowd.
Merry Christmas!
The Rudolph fire truck arrives at a children's hospital with a very important mission: handing out gifts to the young patients. Their faces light up at Santa's unexpected visit.
When kids think of firefighters, the first thing that comes to mind is a strong, charismatic figure. We wanted to take the opportunity to reach out to kids in a more friendly way.
The audience at this theater has come to learn more about the women who were forced into sexual slavery and their lives after Korea's liberation from Japanese colonial rule. The troupe accepted ramen noodle packages instead of money for admission. And the donations collected will be given to people in need.
I decided to come here because I thought it was a meaningful way to help out the poor by donating ramen.
The event was organized by regional acting clubs and troops in the country.
We are going to give all the noodles to people in need at the end of the year. We decided to hold this event to make our society a better place to live.
From Santa firefighters visiting children's hospitals to acting troops that donate the ramen noodles to the poor, they have come up with their own unique ways of lighting up the community during this festive season. Son Jung-in, Arirang News.
And now the weather. Do dress warm when you head out to work on Friday morning, as the mercury is forecast to dip all the way down to -7 in Seoul. And now let's check out the weather conditions elsewhere around the world. And that brings us to the end of our newscast. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.